So let me preface, to be honest, I am probably more on the left than this creator. And also, I did not get the chance to personally go through it myself. And we will see why, because this thing is insanely expensive. It's $50. To be fair, the comic apparently is like $30, but shipping and handling, it comes out to $50. So this is insanely expensive. So did Eric July deliver on his promise? Now, let me just also preface, I didn't even know this was coming out. I kept track of this thing and people said, oh, it came out already. It came out already? I barely heard about it. And he's promoted this wildly. So, did he deliver on the promise? Basically, no. There's a lot of things that are wrong. I'm going from secondhand knowledge, but it's pretty devastating. There were some good reviews. Some people did like the story. Some people did give this pretty high marks, but overall, the reviews I saw, it's just not very good. So, what is it? It's a very generic Superman story. Avery is a black superhero. He's a rancher, apparently. He has some powers. The people with powers in this universe are called accepts. And so basically, it's Avery coming into town. He beats up some people. He's searching for someone, I guess. It doesn't matter. There's not much of a story. And some people beat him up. That's about it. So we don't really get much of deep characters at all. The dialogue seems to be okay. The artwork is good. So the artist was very solid. But some of the action scenes don't really make any sense. Some people say the story flowed well for them, so there you go. But even the people who like this are like, there are a few plot holes in terms of how people are introduced. The other main characters are also kind of just derivative. There's a kind of a white woman who can fly, apparently. She's blonde, called Yara. And there's these trio of people called Alpha Core who ISOM encounters. They're basically ripped off from Superman. So we have kind of generic Supergirl and generic trio Zod and his underlings. So it's very, very lazy. And of course, the accepts, oh, it's the X-Men. This thing is insanely derivative. He didn't really bring anything new to the table. And he promised not to be political. It's political. It's basically a self-insert character where I guess this is a example of a good black pro-capitalist, patriotic guy person. The story itself is lacking. The artwork is okay. The price is insane. Nobody's going to pay $50 on a regular basis for a comic that, to be generous, is like 100 pages, but didn't go anywhere. If you're critical of this thing, there's not much. I'm going to look out for the reviews for the next ISOM, but it's nothing spectacular. The design of the character, the origin, this basic thing has been done before by the creators of Superman, so nothing really creative. There's not much more to say. Apparently, he put his wife's ad for jewelry in the comic. Why? I don't know. It just isn't adding up for me because I'm a hardcore comic book person. But now I'm a comic book reader and I even create comics on my own time. But I do have to say, I'm not totally aware how the business side works. But for myself, I have seen content creators, black and white, put out comic books that are like 100, 200 pages. You have to pay maybe nowadays like $10, $20 for that. Granted, there may be a trade off, it'll be in black and white. But manga can be put out with a very large page count. You pay far less. So some's not adding up in terms of the consumer side. So as just a consumer of comic books, this is way overpriced. It doesn't make any sense. But even as a comic book fan and giving this a chance, like politically, we have this already. Like Frank Miller is very right wing. So in terms of ideology, I'm not being politically biased. He actually put out, ironically, this black woman who is also very like Ayn Rand fanatical person back in the day. I think this is the early 90s, like Martha Washington. I have to double check, but I think he put that out. It made no impact. So Frank Miller has put out very right-wing comic books. Some have sold well, some have not sold well. For me, the best Frank Miller is early to middle period. But even in the middle period, yeah, towards the end, he got very political. So I'm not against the political ideology. If you put out a good comic book, I will recommend it. I don't like the ideology, but I will recommend it. There are some good right wing creators like Chuck Dixon and Frank Miller. So even politically, we don't need this guy. He isn't bringing that new to the table. And again, I don't see the point of paying for this at all, really. And we do have literally an Ayn Rand person doing this, like Frank Miller. So what's the point of all of this? I don't know. But if you want to give it a chance, it's $50. The scores have ranged from 2 out of 10, 3 out of 10, 4 out of 10, 5 out of 10, 7 out of 10. The partisan people are giving this an 8 or a 9. But the normal people are like, yeah, it could be 6 out of 10, 7 out of 10. You'll have to decide. So the average appears to be like 5.5 out of 10. But again, I want to stress, I have not read this myself. Maybe I will go against the crowd. I'll say this is spectacular. But again, for $50, people should really be recommending this and saying it's the best thing in the universe. But apparently they're just saying, yeah, it's passable. It's kind of like normal. It's the regular stuff. But he is contradicting himself. He is being hypocritical. He's doing what he said he wouldn't do. And he was promising certain answers in the first issue. That did not happen. So I'm going to have to say, based on everything, for $50, yeah, don't buy ISOM. If you want right-wing stuff, just pick up some old Frank Miller comics. They're way cheaper and way higher quality. And even Frank Miller declined. From middle to late period, he declined a lot. Even his more right-wing stuff is not even that good, but I would recommend 300. If you want like a radical right-wing, near-fascist point of view, 300 does that. It does it much more cheaply. If this is what you want, more right-wing comic books, you can pay for that at a much cheaper price. If you just want, I guess, to just give Eric July a chance, you can do so. It's just too high a price. And apparently, from all these reviews, the quality is just very, at best, above average. Make of that what you will. If this is worth it to you, then give it a chance. I don't see any reason to do that because it just seems he didn't put that much of an effort in. And a lot of material here appears derived from other sources and done much better in the original iteration. So it's not much to recommend here, unfortunately.
Dialogue is good. Dialogue is solid good.
I would say for the most part,
Yeah,
some of it seemed a little stilted.
The book and the writing itself, I don't know if Eric July has written anything else before or if this is his first time diving into comics or what, but the writing is par. You know, it's nothing exceptional. It's nothing great. It's definitely not bad either. You know, just trying to be honest here. It's exceptionally par.
Character work
Comparison, and I know this is a bad comparison, but just a size comparison. Superman Space Age came out this past week. That's 100 pages, no ads in it, and it had like a $10 price tag. This had a $30 price tag.
It's very